Hello everyone, this is part 18 of What If Naruto Traveled Back in Time and Changed, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Anyway, for the next big event, we need to rewind one day. Naruto was walking out of a store in the high-end district of Konoha before he disappeared in a shunshin. As he came to a stop at Ichiraku Ramen, the man transformed in a puff of smoke and turned into Naruto. Naruto looked down at the box in his hand and smiled contentedly. He had everything he needed, now he just needed to enlist the help of the right people. Naruto started by talking to Ayami and Tsuki and asking them to bring a family-sized assorted order to the Senju compound for dinner. He then went to enlist the help of Temari, Hinata, Gaara, Shikamaru and Chuji. After getting the group on board with his plan, he went and talked to a person that honestly needed some love. He went into sage mode and located her chakra signature before disappearing in a shunshin. Naruto arrived on training ground 7 to see Sakura working on some chakra control exercises alone. He figured Team 7 was probably shattered because of Sasuke's disappearance and Kakashi was never very good at dealing with loss. He shook off the thoughts of his absentee old brother figure and walked up to Sakura and gave her a casual greeting. "Heya, Sakura, long time no see," Naruto said cheerfully. Sakura turned a skeptical gaze onto Naruto. Her mother hated him, but Sakura didn't really understand why. Sure, she felt the Kyuubi's chakra and that was scary. Sure, she knew Naruto had MPD and she had met most of his personalities, even Q. But never once did she feel like Naruto would snap and turn on his comrades. Most of her dislike from the guy came from the fact that he constantly upstaged Sasuke. "What do you want, Naruto?" Sakura asked in a confused and curious tone. "Well, I am leaving soon and I wanted to know if you wanted to get your best friend back. I would feel better knowing that you had someone to be there for you and you could be there for her in return." Sakura sighed and looked down at the ground despondently. "Naruto, Ino and I don't even talk anymore. Ever since she started dating you, we have been on the outs. So, you don't want your friend back?" Sakura's sad gaze lit with fury. "Of course I do, but she doesn't like me anymore because of you. Is it really because of me or because you wouldn't stop trying to put me down to make Sasuke look and feel better? Look, I am not here for a fight. I can tell you that Ino misses you and she would like her friend back. I am giving you a chance to rebuild that burnt bridge," Naruto said in a confident, no-nonsense tone. Sakura shelved her dislike of Naruto. If he could get her friend back, that would be amazing. How? Naruto smiled and began explaining his plan to Sakura, who jumped up in a girly fit of glee and actually hugged Naruto. Ino was holding her parents' flower shop down after her morning CrossFit session, wishing more than anything that Naruto would come spend time with her. As she was lost in thoughts of her beloved blonde, she heard the bell ring on the door to the shop. She looked up and saw somebody that she hadn't seen in quite a while. "Hey there, Sakura, what brings you to the shop?" Ino chirped. Sakura wore an abashed look and she suddenly bowed to Ino. "Look, Ino, I am sorry for being a terrible friend. I know that it was mostly my fault, and I am sorry. I just want my friend back." Ino froze, not expecting anything like this out of her childhood best friend. Pulling on her inner Naruto, she smiled brightly at Sakura and hopped the counter before wrapping her friend up in a hug. "There is nothing to forgive, Sakura. Friends fight and drift apart. What is important is that they always come back together." Sakura was surprised by Ino's forgiveness, but she wasn't going to let this chance go. She returned the hug and cried into Ino's shoulder. After a couple minutes, she recomposed herself and remembered her mission. "Alright, well, I had this big apology planned and I booked us a day at the spa and hot spring. Don't worry about the shop, I talked to Lena, and she said she would be here soon to cover for you." Ino gave out a girly, gleeful squeal and pulled Sakura into another hug. The two spent the time catching up until Lena showed up with a massive smile on her face 20 minutes later. She gave the girls a knowing look before shooing them out of the shop. Sakura walked amiably with Ino to their favorite spa and noticed that Temari was outside waiting for them. Temari gave them a wave and joined the duo despite Ino's confusion. The girls talked, gossiped and chatted merrily as they got all done up. Ino knew something was afoot, but she couldn't quite place her finger on it. They transitioned from the spa to the hot spring where they found Tsunade and Shizune relaxing in the spring. The Senju duo enjoyed the soak with the girls and invited them to join them for dinner at the compound. Thinking nothing of it, Ino agreed, and the ever-growing group of women got dressed and made their way back to the Senju compound. As they approached the gates, the group of women saw Shikamaru and Asuma waiting at the front gates. Ino shot the pair a questioning look but shrugged it off. Ino, it's troublesome but Naruto called us here for a training exercise. Shikamaru said, much to the confusion of the females in the group. Yup, this one is going to be fun. Asuma said in an out-of-character fashion. Ino looked skeptically at the pair. What is going on, you two? If this were a training exercise, then Chuji would be here. Spill it. Her tone reminded Sakura of her bossy attitude in the academy. Troublesome blonde, Chuji is helping Naruto set up. Look, don't be any more troublesome than you naturally are and put this blindfold on. Shikamaru held out a blindfold to Ino. Ino watched him put his on before casting a pleading look to Asuma who just smirked at her. She relented and put the blindfold on. Sakura, can you watch me and make sure these two don't do anything stupid? Silence except for the breathing of Shikamaru and Asuma. Sakura. They already left kiddo. Asuma said. Alright, this exercise is about extrasensory perception. I will be guiding you two through an obstacle course set up by Naruto. Little did Ino know that Shikamaru had already removed the blindfold. Fine, whatever sensei. Let's just get this over with. I was having such a good day before you showed up. Ino said in an obstinate pout. Asuma chuckled heartily. Yeah, blame it on me. Getting walking. Ino stumbled into the Senju compound and instantly found that something was different. The normal path was narrower, the air smelled richly of flowers. She knew that smell, sun lilies, a whole bunch of sun lilies. At least Naruto was thoughtful enough to use her favorite plant in this exercise. Ino continued to feel her way down the narrow path, and it became easier to walk as time went on. 10 minutes later, Ino reached the end of the path as she felt the path closed by the same familiar plant she had used to guide her way. Good job, Ino, you can take the blindfold off now. Asuma said, unable to hide the happiness in his voice. Ino removed the blindfold and saw a field full of sun lilies, and in front of her she saw something that made her gasp and cover her mouth with her hands. As she looked down, she saw Naruto in a formal kimono with yellow embossing, and he was down on one knee while holding something in his hand. Before Ino could recompose herself, Naruto began speaking in a shaky voice. Ino Yamanaka, your beauty lights up my world brighter than the sun. As these lilies grow, I can't help but think they pale in comparison to your beauty. How could they compare? You are strong, beautiful, smart, compassionate, obstinate, and everything I could ask for in this life or the next. Before I go, I just wanted to know, Ino Yamanaka, would you do me the honor of marrying me? Naruto opened the box to show a white gold band studded with diamonds that centered around a beautiful diamond in a Asha cut. Ino kept her hands over her mouth, not daring to believe this was real. Tears were trickling from her eyes as the events of the day started making sense. Naruto had enlisted the help of all the important people in her life and even went out of his way to rekindle a lost friendship. She didn't know how long Naruto was waiting, but eventually she snapped out of it and choked out a yes. Naruto dashed over and picked her up in a hug and twirled her around. As Naruto spun her, the genjutsu hiding everyone faded and they all shouted their congratulations. If Ino wasn't in Naruto's arms already, she would have jumped out of her skin in surprise. Ino saw her father, Lina, Sakura, Tsunade, Shizune, Kyu, Rias, Anko, Yosuke, Hikari, Shikamaru, Chuji, Asuma, Shukaku, Yoshino, Chusa, Chura, Hinata, Shino, Itachi, Kurenai, Gaara and Temari standing around the field of sun lilies. Everyone was smiling at her and offering the couple their congratulations. Ino broke free from Naruto and ran to Temari. The two began jumping around like some schoolgirls on cracked candy as they congratulated each other and shared in each other's happiness. Ino was excited that they were officially going to be sister wives. It was a wonderful night that would serve as a memorable send-off for those that were going on the training trip. Of course, when you throw everyone together in a festive environment and offer them free drinks, certain secrets get spilt. Sunad would always, and I mean always, remember this night as one of the most infuriatingly enjoyable nights of her life. It all started when the guests started leaving and the party broke down into people drinking and sitting around the gazebo and chatting. Naturally, it was Rias that was the cause of all the trouble. Rias was slumped over on Anko's shoulder and giggled drunkenly as she listened to the lively conversation. Seeing an opening and not thinking of the consequences of her actions, Rias asked, "Hey, Suke, hiccup, when is Hima, hiccup, worried you?" All laughter and giggling stopped, people froze, and sources were halted before they could reach lips. All heads either snapped or mechanically, and comically, turned toward Sunad who had spit her drink out when she heard the question. Rather than go to Yosuke, who wasn't drunk, I mean how do wood clones even get drunk, but I guess they do, Sunad turned her head toward Rias and placed a sickeningly sweet smile on her face. "What do you mean, Riri? Care to explain?" Her tone was like the sugary coating on the outside of Hinata's cinnamon buns. Naruto, who had been cuddling comfortably with Temari and Ino, was now in a tight spot between two enraged fiancés and his mama who was stalking toward him. Closing his eyes and waiting for the pain, Naruto instinctively kawarimi'd with Yosuke, who caught a blow to the face from the enraged slug Sanan. When the dust cleared, Sunad saw Yosuke trying to shake off the birdies and everyone was looking at the back of Naruto that was running through the Senju Gardens. 3 blonde women stood and gave chase. It took less than 10 minutes for the trio of enraged women to capture, brutalize and tie up Naruto. The conversation in the gazebo froze once again as Sunad dumped the despondent blonde in the center of the gazebo. Sunad looked around at the altars and growled. Quote, "Suke, you will marry this woman and take responsibility for your actions. She will live with us and need to be under our protection." Sunad paused here, thought for a bit, and then looked around at those in attendance, Ino, Temari, Anko, Gara, Inoiki, Lina, Hinata, Kurama, Yami and Shizune. "The rest of you lot, this does not leave this family. You 3, Inoiki, Lina and Hinata, you need to either swear to this or I will need to alter your memories." Inoiki put a protective arm in front of Lina. "You cannot do that, Sunad." "Inoiki, do you understand what it would mean if this got out?" Sunad growled, "I am already fighting tooth and nail against the damned council of this Kami-forsaken village. Promise or I take drastic action." Lina grabbed Inoiki's hand and squeezed it in a comforting manner. "Dear, they will be family. That is what we are celebrating tonight. Consider this a clan matter and client confidentiality." Inoiki sighed and sagged his head. "Fine, I will keep this matter in the family." "Good," Sunad said before turning her anger on Rias and Anko. "You two, I don't even know what to say. How can you be so stupid?" Rias puffed her cheeks and got angry at this. "Mama, I am like in my mid-20s. We want a kid, and the council won't allow same-sex marriage from a top kunoiki for the sake of procreation and proliferation of good genetics. I love Anko and I will spend my life with her." "Lady Sunad, I agree with what Rias said. We have thought this through," Anko pleaded. "Oh ho, so you are okay with denying Naruto his rights to fatherhood? You would put that burden on him willingly?" Sunad challenged and she took a smug satisfaction as the onlookers all paled and shrunk back in their seats. Rias stood up challengingly, "And you would have us take some sperm donor that doesn't deserve my Anko?" "Kami, Mama, you should understand this." This statement drew confused looks from those gathered, but it clearly impacted Sunad. "What do you mean by that?" Rias scoffed. "Oh, please, like I haven't seen you and Q. As if the greatest of the Biju would ever let another man have the right to be your mate. I saw you shoot down Raza last time he tried." Rias covered her mouth, realizing that her drunken lack of inhibition made her slip and overshare. All heads started darting back and forth between Kurama and Sunad. Naruto had a feeling but everyone else was clearly shocked by the spill of information. The tension was incredibly thick, and it hovered in the air over everyone's shoulders. Everyone sat frozen, unable or unwilling to move as Sunad hands clenched into fists and glowed a bluish-green with chakra. Kurama decided to stand up for his potential mate. "Look here, Rias, what you just shared wasn't yours to share. We are just figuring things out and haven't gotten to the point of kits, yet. Kurama reached out and took one of Tsunade's balled fists into his hand and made her relax a bit. Anko mirrored Kurama's actions after gaining a sudden burst of courage by realizing that she was Anko Mitarashi and she wasn't scared of nobody. Well, when the time comes and you do reach that point, would you not come to the same conclusion we have? Is there a better man? Is there anyone you would ever trust more than your partner in life to assist you with something so important? Anko's tone grew more confident and more challenging as she got into her stride. So, everyone is just going to pimp out my son? Tsunade asked incredulously. Ruto agreed to let us do this, Mama. He understood what it means to us. At the end of the day, we are a family. At the end of the day, we will figure it out. At the end of the day, we are all in this together. Rias shouted. Holy shit, this is the most interesting case of MPD in history, Inoiki whispered under his breath. Tsunade turned on him, and you are okay with something like this? They are pimping out your future son-in-law. Inoiki shrugged in resignation. It is not my choice. I threw the word, normal, out the window when I started interacting with Ruto. Ino decided to enter here. Look, Mama, I know that I trust Ruto. I wish he would have told me about this sooner, but it is not like I can't understand where he is coming from. And Rias is right, at the end of the day we are destined to be one, big, crazy, happy family. Family above all, Temari said timidly, which put a smile on Shizune, Naruto, Anko, Rias and eventually Tsunade. I need a drink. As the leader of this crazy family, I am making a rule that I will need to be notified of any such stupidity before you do it. Tsunade sat down, cuddled into Q and grabbed a bottle of sake without a saucer. Naruto stood up and felt like he should address this awkward situation. Look, everyone, we will figure this out as we go. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can let this out of the family. For those that don't know, I have many enemies. For starters, there is Iwa and Orochimaru. Iwa would probably kill you and I don't even want to think about what Orochimaru would do for the Mokuton bloodline. Next, there is the Akatsuki. If they know we are having babies left and right, then they will use that against me. I love each of you too much to let something bad happen to you. Please, be careful with this. The kit is right. Anko, if you are moving forward with this then we will house you in the compound. Temari, Ino, I can smell what happened. If either of you. Inoiki jumped to his feet in shock and interrupted Kurama. His head turned mechanically toward Naruto and killing intent flooded the gazebo. You didn't, his voice came out in a menacing whisper. He looked at the abashed look on Ino's face and shook Lena's hand off of him. Run, brat. Naruto was terrified by the look on Inoiki's face. He looked to his mama for help, who shrugged at him. He looked to his two girls and saw that Temari was holding Ino in a comforting manner. He looked back to Inoiki and darted away. Inoiki gave chase and another 10-minute chase ensued. Unfortunately for Inoiki, Naruto was much faster and more agile than him. Unfortunately for Naruto, Inoiki specialized in jutsus that shattered the mind. Ino saw her father going through the hand signs for the Yamanaka Kenjutsu, mind destruction technique, and she tackled him before he could cast the jutsu. Daddy, that is enough, Ino shouted and glared down at her pouting father as she stood over him. I love Ruto. I am going to marry Ruto. What I do with Ruto is my business. Now, apologize. Ino? Baby girl, please, Inoiki pouted in a shattered, fatherly manner. No, Daddy, I love you and you just need to accept that I am growing up. I can make my own choices. Ino shouted down at her father. It is never boring when I hang out with my brother. Gaara said calmly as he drank some more sake. You have no idea, Kit. You have no idea, Kurama lamented but internally he was laughing. This was so much better than his partner's previous life. Tsunade sighed after chugging the bottle and a blush adorned her cheeks. The damned brat just never stops doing stupid things. Family isn't stupid, Mama. Everything Naruto does is for this family. Temari decided to enter the conversation. That is why we love him. This comment summed up the night and eventually everyone went off to bed. Departure. Tsunade, Shizune, Naruto, Anko and Jiraiya were in Itachi's office and getting ready to sign out. Itachi was perplexed as to why Anko was there, but he figured he may as well find out. Alright, Senju family, thanks for meeting with me. It is a sad day to see you leave the village once more. Before we get to that, may I ask what you are doing here, Anko? Itachi kept his professional, cool monotone. I am applying for maternity leave, Anko said crassly, which made Jiraiya face plant and Itachi slam his head on the desk. Jesus Anko, a little discretion. Shizune gasped out. What you mean? I got a bun in the oven, and I don't feel like going out on missions. I figured I would join the Senjus on their little trip because Tsunade is my doctor. Ain't that right, Mama? Tsunade face palmed. Did her grandson's alter ego have to pick such a troublesome girl? Yeah, I guess. Itachi knew he was missing something that he wasn't going to get out of the members in his office. He decided to ask, who is the father? Anko shrugged in a snarky manner, who knows? Don't you know they call me the Snake W? Can't possibly remember all of the guys. Enough, Anko. I know you haven't slept with a man in almost a year. Itachi cut in. Anko shrugged again, Ma, oh well. I don't know. Itachi turned his gaze on the Senju family. You know, don't you, Naruto? Naruto shrugged, not my business, Lord Hokage. Itachi turned his gaze on each member of the Senju family and got nothing for his efforts. Finally, Itachi sighed, Anko, you are a special Jonin. I cannot let you simply leave the village. If you wish for a reprieve from duty, then that is your right as a pregnant kunoichi. How far along are you? Anko growled, no, I haven't taken vacation in years Itachi. I have served Konoha for 12 straight years. You will let me go on this training trip. You have the kid's calling card. You can still issue us missions as we travel. There is no legitimate reason not to let me go. Before things could escalate further, Tsunade sighed and spoke up, Itachi, the Senju family requests Anko Mitarashi as a trainer for our trip. We will pay the appropriate price for a long-term, ranked mission. Itachi cast a skeptical look at Tsunade, then shifted to Naruto, then to Anko. Must the Senju always be so troublesome? He sighed out. Naruto beamed a cheeky smile at Itachi, are you channeling your inner Nara, Lord Hokage? Itachi glared at his student, enough. This is no longer a game, Naruto. I am losing to Sannin and A.S. rank ninja. It is a real problem as we recover from an invasion and are in an undeclared state of war. Tsunade stepped forward, well then, you will need funds. You will need supplies. You will need seals. I reiterate, you can summon us in real time, issue us missions and our training will make Anko.'s rank by the time we are done, after the baby. Itachi put his head in his hands, okay, write the mission scroll up. Naruto walked forward and put his hand on Itachi's shoulder. Look, Sensei, I will help the ninja of this village. Truth be told, the only reason I am leaving is because of the civilian population. Get them under control and I will be your asset in the field. Jiraiya had been watching the whole time with a mixture of amusement and irritation. He should have been part of this family, but they didn't reciprocate his love of the village. Naruto should have run to him. Instead, Naruto ran to Tsunade who harbored no love for his village. His recent actions have done nothing but ostracize him from his student's family, his family. Jiraiya stepped forward, put on his idiot pervert mask and pointed a bold thumb to his chest. Don't worry, Itachi. I will be there with them. We will make the most of our time and you can send missions to me through my toad summons. Jiraiya, we have communication scrolls, Naruto said blandly with a bit of sarcasm dashed for flavoring. Jiraiya was enshrouded by a rain cloud while Tsunade laughed obnoxiously at her former teammate. Itachi just put his head in his hands. Finally, Itachi spoke, you will be assigned regular missions based on your current location. In return for me allowing Anko to travel with you, you will respond within 1 hour for any communication I send. Now, the paperwork monster has grown due to the length of our conversation. Itachi paused here and offered a genuine smile to the group. Be safe out there, Naruto. For what it is worth, I am sorry it came to this. Will do, Lord Hokage. Expect some orders for Uncle Kinji. Use him, Itachi. Let him help you with the damned civilian council. Naruto said in a friendly tone. Itachi offered the group a weak smile and a nod before they departed. Fire capital 3 months. The contrast couldn't be greater. In Konoha, people watched him with wary eyes and fear hovered over the village. In the expansive fire capital, the Senju families were treated as royalty. The samurai guards bowed to Naruto whenever they saw him. The nobles were pleasant when they weren't his ass. Kinji was a bright man and treated him as a member of the royal family. This courtesy was extended to his whole entourage, and everyone really enjoyed the first 3 months of their trip. One thing Naruto didn't expect was that Kinji demanded that Naruto had a wood or shadow clone with him at all times. It was at Kinji's insistence that Naruto began drawing up plans to reform Uzushiogakure so that he could claim his rightful lair. He offered aid and a powerful ally in this endeavor. Being Kinji's shadow for 3 months let Naruto remediate some of his bad habits and learn the finer details of being a daimyo. Being all prim and proper was never his thing, but Kinji, or more like Kaori and Madame Shijimi, knocked some sense into him. Madame Shijimi insisted on moving back to the fire capital after Naruto's ostracization. It was one form of reprimand that Kinji was more than happy to administer to his disappointment of a ninja village. She also wanted to spend time with Naruto and the Senju family. After lessons, Naruto, or a clone of him, would spend time bonding with the rotund woman and Kaori as they hung around with the Senju family and instructed him on various aspects of the royal life. Gaara and Temari found the fire capital an absolutely amazing sight. It was roughly 10 times larger than Sunagakure and 4 times larger than the wind capital. Other than spending time to bond with their allies, Gaara and Temari committed to a strict training regimen. Gaara, Temari and Naruto spent time after the morning workouts to practice their wind ninjutsu. This was one of their main focuses since Gaara couldn't exactly practice syncing with Shukaku within the confines of the fire capital. Everyone grouped together for afternoons and alternated sparring partners. The good thing about being on a training trip with so many high-ranking ninja was that there was no shortage of adequate sparring partners. As steel sharpens steel, so do A and S ranks sharpen one another. This was pretty much the only part of the day that Jiraiya was actually useful in, when he was present. The spars between Naruto and Jiraiya were a violent, yet cathartic, release. Thank Kami for auto-repair seals that were applied to the training ground. One of the cool things about Naruto's new summons was the fact that they fit in so well with open-minded people from Naruto's world. With the time dilation, Rimuru was more than happy to send his subordinates over to assist in Naruto's training trip. This meant that the Kijin and goblins got to spend time with Naruto, the Senjus and Kinji's family. Her Helmoth silk robes, her unique recipes and other products of the Jura Tempest Federation were quick hits in the fire capital. It was also amazing to watch Shuna use holy magic in a world that was completely separated from magicules. Hakuro was summoned almost every other day for kenjutsu lessons. Sometimes he showed up with the Goblin Riders and provided a good force-on-force training session. Naruto was impressed that the Goblin Riders could keep up with rank shinobi, and he found Gobta's goofy antics fit right in with his prankster personality. Shien didn't come often because she was too attached to Rimuru, but when she did it almost always led to a destroyed training ground followed by an overconsumption of sake. In the first 3 months, the training group took on 15 missions varying from C to A rank. The first mission was accompanied by a sealing scroll that gave Naruto his Chunin vest. Itachi said that with all of the commotion he simply forgot to promote Naruto. The family laughed about this, and Naruto was officially a Chunin after 29 years of combined life. It provided a good round of laughter for those within the know, which was pretty much everyone except Jiraiya on the training trip. The missions were a necessity, and the training group would send people out in groups of 2 to complete them so as not to disrupt the overall training. The missions were constrained to the Land of Fire and were centered around the capital, which made it much quicker to complete the missions. Overall, the missions were a pain, but they didn't take too much away from the enjoyable experience. Speaking of family, Himawari and Yosuke were now officially married by Kinji. They had a small, family wedding that included their friends from Wave. Himawari joined the family at the Senju compound in the capital and took over a motherly role in the family. Everyone enjoyed her calming presence and the opportunity to point of how a proper mother should act to Tsunade. It was truly amusing, and Himawari fit right into the rowdy family. Naruto's pet project at the current time was setting up a group teleportation seal. He wanted to create links and he was close to completing it. It would absolutely revolutionize travel through the elemental nations, and Tsunade agreed that it was worth a clone team working on it. It was a monumental challenge and Naruto, more specifically his clones, relished it. Another one of Naruto's pet projects was beating the emo out of Yami. It was a slow-going process and there was truly little progress to speak of. Yami seemed to have a crush on Shuna funnily enough, but whenever she wasn't around, he was dispassionate and distant. He decided to remain separate and try to live his own life, but he lacked a purpose. Various members of the Senju family attempted to reach out and help him with mild success when it involved Rias. Finally, Naruto and Temari had gotten into a rhythm with their relationship. They were finally together, and their love was blooming strong. Temari was Naruto's strength and gave him a reason to fight every day. Her soft, sandy blonde hair, her lilac scent, her tender touch, the warmth she gave him every night and a limitless list of things burned themselves into Naruto's soul once more and ignited his iron will. Naruto was able to stay in contact with Ino on most nights and he was able to visit her 4 times during his time in the fire capital. He would pick her up in her room and then take her to the Namikaze or Senju compound or the waterfall cabin that he made. He kept his presence a secret from the villagers, otherwise there wouldn't be a point. He made the most of his days and nights with her, but there might be a problem. He would have to wait to be sure though. In the last week of Naruto's stay in the fire capital, he was given a mission to eliminate a bandit group that was hitting traveling caravans near the city. He went with Temari so that she could get some mission experience and revenue for Suna. After they made it to the city, they stayed in a hotel for the night. That didn't stop Naruto from taking Temari out to the casino nightlife to have some fun before they attended to their mission. At the casino, Naruto went around the casino with Temari playing games like craps, roulette and blackjack. Turns out that when Temari gambled in tandem with Naruto, she won too. They performed hit and runs on 6 casinos in Tanzakugai and left each casino before the pit bosses made their move. Temari was laughing, giggling, clinging and simply enjoying her night alone with her blonde stud. They ended the night with a bed-breaking couple of rounds of carnal pleasure that sent Temari into a blissful land of dreams. The next day, Naruto woke up and sent a clone to grab breakfast from a street vendor. He prepared a bath for Temari and scooped her into his arms and slid into the bath with her. She woke up to the warm water wrapped in the arms of her lover. After both blondes sent a silent thank you to Kami, they began catching up on things. So, Ruto, did I tell you about Q and Mama? Temari said as she snuggled back into Naruto's embrace, making the water swish idly between their bodies. If some of the dreams I have been having lately are to be trusted, then I would say they're getting closer. Naruto took a guess. Yup, Temari said cheerily, they are actually really cute together. I saw them cuddling on the couch after we all went to bed. When I woke up to get a sip of water, I saw Q carrying her into her room. For a Biju, he really is a gentleman. Temari said like a gossiping fangirl. Haha, it wasn't always that way. Did you know that the sage made the Biju to integrate with humanity? He wanted the Biju to work alongside us. Temari hummed lightly and trapped Naruto's arm under her B. Not the way we currently are though. He never wanted his creations enslaved. The idea the sage had for the world and chakra was called Ninshu. He wanted to Biju to work with humans to use chakra to bring everyone together. Okay, so, what does that have to do with Kurama changing? Naruto chuckled, haha, well, a side effect of syncing Biju and human was that the Biju became just a bit more human. Kurama has changed a lot, especially since I purified his chakra. He has mellowed out and, like me, he wants nothing more than to find a soulmate. He feels everything I feel when he is in the seal, and he told me he wanted to find the love that I held and hold for you and Ino. Temari moaned in understanding and contentedness, so, you would be happy with Q and Mama linking up. Temari could feel Naruto smirk into the back of her head. Who do you think suggested it? Temari gasped, broke out of his arms, spilled a bunch of water over the tub and looked him right in the eyes. You. No way. Naruto laughed heartily, hee, Tsunade was the closest thing I had to family last time around. This time, she is literally my mother figure. Q is my best friend, my soulbound partner and someone I trust implicitly. He is the only person I would ever trust Mama with. Naruto finished with such pride and confidence that it stunned Temari once again. Then why did you let her hook up with my dad? I thought you wanted that. Temari asked sheepishly. Well, they were good for each other. Your dad is a good dude and I think under different circumstances it could have worked. However, we are due to be married, which would have made that more than a little weird, Naruto said while making a face. This made Temari giggle. Yeah, that would have been weird. Wait, Temari said with a scandalized gasp, which earned a confused look from Naruto. Are they? Naruto's confused look deepened. Are they going to use you for that too? Realization dawned on Naruto, and he had the decency to blush. Yeah, I dunno. An awkward silence settled over the tub and Naruto pulled Temari back into his embrace. She settled in with a final snuggle, appreciating his firm and toned body. Well, I guess there are weirder things in life. Ha ha, yeah, Naruto chuckled sheepishly. After eating breakfast, Naruto and Temari reached out to the point of contact and got the mission information. The bandits had struck 4 separate caravans, all on different roads leading to or from Tanzaku-gai. Rather than bluster about or potentially let people know that Konoha shinobi were looking for the bandits, Naruto decided to go into Sage mode to locate their targets. As Naruto entered Sage mode, the familiar spreading of his senses overwhelmed him temporarily before he got it under control. He took a breath and calmed himself down before filtering out all of the unnecessary background information. As his senses extended past the city walls, he sensed something familiar and intriguing. It resonated with his chakra and Naruto focused in on it. As he continued to evaluate it, he realized that it was the Zetsu plant creature that had plagued him throughout the later years of his previous life. Naruto's eyebrows tilted downward, but that was the only show of frustration and anger that he made. He remembered that the Akatsuki used the plant creature as a scout, and he was their primary source of information. Naruto calmed himself, strengthened his link with Mother Nature and guided the forests to answer his call. Through the power of Senjutsu chakra, Naruto bent the forests to his will, and he found that his efforts paid off before his eyes snapped open. Zetsu was a plant-like creature composed of 2 parts. The first part was black, dark, sinister and considered itself the wool of Madara. The second part, or the white half, was composed of a clone Madara constructed from Hashirama's cells. It was this part that Naruto resonated with and felt out. Normally, Zetsu's stealth was unparalleled and its connection with nature hid its chakra signature. Zetsu was more than confident in his stealth abilities, and he had detected the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and followed him to Tanzaku-gai. Zetsu settled into a monitoring position in the forests outside of the town and he was hoping to gain a bit of information on the boy's abilities. Zetsu knew where the bandit camp was, and he was simply going to follow the Senju boy and watch him handle the bandits. Zetsu felt peace overwhelm his white half as nature resonated with him in a more potent way than normal. The white half had its eye closed, and he was humming at the peaceful feel of nature when a wooden spike impaled the plant creature. Black Zetsu panicked at the sudden loss of its host and it panicked further when the one wooden spike exploded into 10 spikes that shredded and impaled the white Zetsu body. Before the creature could be absorbed, Black Zetsu wriggled off of the white body like some parasite and ordered the white body to create a clone. A spore appeared on the side of the white body that wasn't impaled yet and formed into a new white body for it to use. The black parasite crawled up and integrated into the new white body when his danger senses went haywire. He turned to see the Kyuubi Jinchuriki darting toward him from across the clearing. Black Zetsu immediately controlled the clone to phase into the tree and escape. Naruto shouted in frustration, but he wasn't left empty-handed. He looked at the skewered white body that was oozing green liquid with a sense of contempt as memories of these monsters threatened to overwhelm him. Temari chased after Naruto, who was much faster than her. He had darted off without explaining anything and the sudden shift to serious mode prickled Temari's anxiety. Temari caught up with Naruto and saw the white Zetsu impaled by his Mokuton. She snarled as the creature inspired memories of the war and all of the losses that came with it. She saw Naruto trapped in memories of the past and her concern for her fiancé overwrote all the negative emotions she was feeling. She wrapped Naruto into a hug and began whispering sweet nothings into his ear. Naruto was once again brought back to reality by a loved one. The memories suddenly receded, and he leaned into Temari's embrace. After a minute, clarity returned to his mind, and he pulled out a stasis scroll to seal the corpse. If Tsunade had the knowledge in advance this time around, then maybe they could come up with an effective countermeasure. At the very least, this was the main body of White Zetsu, and it should be a crippling blow to the plant creature. Naruto and Temari easily located and destroyed the bandit camp. The bandits didn't even take the duo 10 minutes to deal with, even though they needed to exercise restraint to save 3 girls that had been captured. Within half an hour of arriving at the bandit camp, everything of value was sealed up, the women were healed and dressed, and they were returning to Tanzaku-gai. Rather than spend another night in the town, Naruto and Temari sped back to the capital to share their new discovery with their family. Unknown location, Akatsuki meeting. Pain was alerted by Zetsu's arrival, and he immediately called a meeting after Zetsu informed him of what happened. Pain immediately called a meeting and informed the group of what was going on. Not being able to tail the Kyuubi Jinchuriki was going to inhibit the goal. Pain was tempted to go and capture the boy himself, but his body wasn't exactly mobile, and the organization was aware that the boy was on a training trip. Then what are we supposed to do, If we can't follow the boy, and he has the Ichibi with him, then what are we supposed to do? A boisterous blonde asked the group. We kill everyone and offer them to Jashin. A maniacal man with a 3-bladed scythe said. That would be unwise. Hisashi added his 2 cents with his eyes closed in contemplation. Explain, Hisashi. Pain said. Hisashi collected his thoughts for a bit. He really detested helping this group, but it was necessary to earn their trust. We don't focus on the hard targets. We consolidate our forces, establish our foundation, then we put pressure on the so-called Great Five until they are forced to concede. They will not risk annihilation for the simple price of a Jinchuriki. That's no fun. I came here to fight strong opponents. A blue, shark-faced man said. A blue-haired woman leaned toward Pain and whispered something to him, which earned a nod from the man with ringed eyes. Hisashi is right. At this point, we risk everything if we unite the world against us. We will focus on getting Iwa under our thumb. A hunched-back man grunted, then what will we do to gather information? Your spy network will need to be directed toward Fire Country. I do not want Zetsu in the forests near the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. We will focus on Kumo, Kiri and Taki. Not even the Kyuubi Jinchuriki will be able to resist us when we have all the other Biju under our control. Sunagakure 3 months and 3 weeks into training trip. After saying goodbye to Kinji and thanking him for his hospitality, the Senju family moved towards Sunagakure for the next stage of the training trip. Naruto left Kinji with the mission to get the civilian council under control and to look for people that would want to be a part of the new Azu. The second task would be on the low since nobody was looking to create new enemies as Iwa ramped up its war preparations. Madame Shijimi also returned to Konoha to keep a closer eye on things there. Her role was to sniff out dissenters and eliminate any influence that Koharu and Homura had over the civilian population. They arrived to fanfare from the people of Sunagakure. They were grateful to have the Guardian of Suna and the Senju Saviors back. Naruto and Tsunade cringed at the new lore they were given, but they tolerated it. They noticed that Sunagakure had patches of green all over the city. The temperature within the city hovered around 75 degrees and the city was livelier than ever. Naruto was happy to see that all his efforts had brought Suna into an age of prosperity. He honestly felt like he owed it to the one hidden village that always had his back. Raza welcomed the group back with open arms and he actually hugged Gaara and Temari when they walked into his office. After getting the formal talks out of the way, the first thing the Subaku and Senju families did was go visit the tomb of Granny Chio. More than a few tears were shed as everyone thanked the old lady for her sacrifice. Flowers decorated the tomb, and it was clear that the people of Suna cared for all Granny Chio had done for their village. At the Subaku estate, they enjoyed a festive dinner before moving to the pool that now occupied one of the family's previous training grounds. They were catching up and sharing their observations of the new and improved Sunagakure. Raza was there with them, but he was cuddling up next to Pakura. Every once in a while, Naruto could see him cast a sidelong glance at Tsunade and Q. So, Ruto, I know everyone here except these two. Care to introduce us? Raza asked as he sat with his feet in the pool. Naruto, who was floating on a pool inflatable cuddling with Temari, beckoned Yami and Kokuo over. Kokuo was a massive man, looked to be in his mid-30s, with blue hair and a rounded face. Papa Raza, this is Yami, I think you met him when he shattered the barrier. This one here with blue hair is Kokuo, better known as the Five Tails. Raza spit out the drink he was sipping and Pakura spat out a scorching cloud in surprise. Naruto, please explain. Naruto laughed and Temari giggled before she pushed him off the inflatable and into the water. Naruto surfaced, shook out his hair and swam over next to Raza. Calm down, everything is okay for now. Yami emerged when I watched Temari die in front of me. I am sure I don't need to explain that one any further. Raza placed a comforting hand on his shoulder and Naruto continued. As for Kokuo, I sensed him when I was in sage mode. After feeling it out, I realized that I could pull his energy into my seal. It took a while, but we made it work. Raza facepalmed and slowly dragged his hand down his face. Naruto, you shouldn't be casually sharing that information. Naruto shrugged, why not? I trust you implicitly and if Pakura is good by you then she is good by me. When did you get back in town, Pakura? Pakura smiled at the boy she had only met a time or two. Well, after the rebels took the city, I didn't see the need to stick around in Kiri. Mei says hi by the way. She really wants to meet you. Temari growled as she paddled her floaty over. Tell that hussy to keep her hands off my Ruto. Naruto smirked at Temari. Sure, he remembered how beautiful Mei was and how she was always on the prowl for a boyfriend, but she was too old for him. She must be in her late 20s by this point. Naruto pulled the floaty over to him and tipped it. Temari squealed as she tumbled into the pool. She surfaced from under the water with her four buns looking limp and lifeless. She growled at Naruto and slugged him in the shoulder, which earned a round of chuckles from the group. Relax Mari, you are my girl. Mei is beautiful but I have no need for any more beauty. Between you and Ino my heart is full and content. Naruto said as smoothly as he could muster. Raza smirked before chirping in a childish tone, oh, don't forget Anko, Himawari, Tsunade and I am sure others. Naruto splashed Raza in the face while Temari crossed her arms in a pout. My alters are their own. They don't count when it comes to my love life. It was Pakura's turn to smirk, oh, Sir Anko and Himawari's children have no biological link to you. Oh, go yourselves, Naruto exclaimed exasperatedly before he submerged himself under the water to escape their teasing. Naruto surfaced with a more serious look on his face and an idea to change the topic of conversation. Alright, down to business, how is the temperature barrier working for Suna? Any complications? Raza put his drink down and sat up straighter. The people love it, our merchants love it and our visitors love it. It also makes it easier to sustain plant life. While you are here, we are going to expand Suna again and create some farmland within the walls. Will you be able to expand the barrier? Naruto thought for a bit, that is a big project to get done in 3 months. You will need to set the new perimeter. I will need to reconfigure the power source and we will need a lot of earth uses to bury the sand and bring up more fertile soil. Raza nodded, yes, that is all planned for. We are going to create another spout for the reservoir on the south side of the village and extend the walls there out. Gaara and you should be more than enough to move and adjust the walls on that side. Gaara can clear the sand and you can create the farms. Treating me like a draft horse, Naruto muttered and earned a round of laughter. Temari beamed and jumped on Naruto's back. Well, my love, just imagine what we can do with all of that money. Naruto twisted his head and edged an eyebrow at Temari. Sweetheart, we have more money than we know what to do with. Temari smirked down at him, oh really? You have enough to cover the resurrection of New Azu. I didn't know we were that rich. Naruto shrugged, Meh, I don't know about that. Uncle Kinji isn't even going to send the scouting group until we go when we return to Wave. From there, it will take years to get enough people on the island. Not to mention, I will need to deal with the Akatsuki and Iwa before I can settle down in Azu. Pakura was confused, so she decided to ask her question. Aren't you a Konoha shinobi? Are they just going to let you go to Azushio? Naruto looked sad for a moment before his eyes firmed and he resolved himself. Yeah, I am. However, I am also the rightful daimyo of Whirlpool Country, which takes precedence over any contractual obligation to Konoha. When push comes to shove, I can leave whenever I please. The only reason I haven't done so already is because I really don't feel like making an enemy of Konoha. I could never raise my hand against my friends. Raza placed a comforting hand on Naruto's shoulder, we have your back kiddo. When the time comes, let me know what you need for New Azu. It will be a fun project. Tsunade was cuddled into Kurama as they watched the spectacle from across the pool. It was only weird when she really stopped to think about it, but when they were like this it just seemed natural. What do you think, Q? Kurama turned his head down and smiled. Well, I think the kid is doing the best he can with the hand he was dealt. There isn't exactly a book on what to do when you have MPD, and they each have their own lives. How about you? Tsunade grunted, downed a drink and then whispered something inaudible. Kurama tickled her side and prompted her to say it again. Well, with my youth back I want a kid or two. I don't think that is possible between you and I. Kurama sighed internally but stayed strong on the exterior. He pulled her into him. I would be lying if I said I didn't want some kids of my own. For centuries we have existed and for centuries us Biju have never been able to experience love. It is only because of Naruto that I even have this chance. Neither of them wanted to say what they each knew needed to be said. It was extremely awkward to think about and even more difficult to say out loud. They just sat in a contented state in each other's arms and watched the night's fun. Tsunade watched Hikari play with some young teens from Suna and smiled. Hikari was the only one that truly felt like a child amongst her crazy family. The time in Suna was actually more like a work vacation for the Senju training group. The day started with CrossFit, which was actually now a standard for the Suna forces. After CrossFit, Naruto did a round of morning spars and training with the group before he headed out to fulfill jobs that had stacked up for Raza. Suna was in a booming era and Raza had more than enough funds to afford the Senju family. His people appreciated each and every project that the Senjus completed because almost every project made life in the desert significantly better. Naruto always finished up his jobs in time for evening CrossFit, after which he had an hour of meditation and then he used the nights to work on his projects. Naruto had surpassed his previous mastery of the wind element. His water element was difficult to practice in Suna and his earth element was finally catching up to the other two. His control over each element was at cage level and it really came down to him mastering his jutsus and understanding how to apply them in combat situations. Naruto could now stand toe-to-toe with Tsunade, Kurama and Kokuo. Tsunade and Naruto needed to go way out into the desert whenever they wanted a spar in Sage mode, and it was always a supremely destructive display. They garnered crowds whenever they did it because it was exceptionally rare for shinobi to be able to witness such high-level combat. Naruto learned to fear Tsunade Senju in her Sage mode, but he developed something that was quite interesting to deal with her. Naruto's answer to preventing Tsunade from turning him into a splatter of blood was development of a new jutsu. Naruto's body in Sage mode was already resilient, but Tsunade's strength was crippling when she was able to land a blow. Thus, Naruto created Mokuton, wood armor jutsu, in response to the problem. Naruto was able to focus his Mokuton chakra into wooden plate armor that took the form of light armor all over his body. Naruto still preferred speed over being a tank, so the light armor variant was his preferred version of this jutsu. If he needed to be more tanky, then he would simply use the wood dragon or wood golem rather than encase himself in the armor. On that note, Naruto was struggling to complete the legendary jutsus of his grandfather. There was something he was missing about it and Hashirama's notes only referred to it as enlightenment. The notes described Hashirama's use of senjutsu to reach a state of enlightenment when he truly became one with nature and he was able to mold the earth's energy to his will. Naruto had failed to attain this state and the family seemed to think it was because of his fractured personalities and damage to his soul. Naturally, Naruto told everyone he wouldn't give up on this and he would surpass his great-grandfather by the end of the training trip. Naruto noticed that Jiraiya made a concerted effort to make himself scarce during the training trip thus far. He could feel his grandfather's emotions and knew that it was because of Kurama and Tsunade's relationship. He didn't blame his godfather for feeling this way, but if Naruto was honest, it was almost entirely his fault. Don't get him wrong, Naruto held love in his heart for Jiraiya and he had come much closer to forgiving the man, but the memories of Jiraiya's actions in Konoha still bothered Naruto. The Toad Sannin did break into the Senju family though. It was tough for people to hate on the pervert when he was just being himself and not constantly ranting about Konoha. He was a vibrant guy that brought laughs and smiles with him. Furthermore, he was actually a good trainer, and he was one of the few people, that weren't one of Naruto's alters, that could actually bounce ideas for Fuinjutsu with Naruto. It was because of Jiraiya that Naruto was closer to making his teleportation platforms. It was still a logistical nightmare, but it was a pet project that Naruto shared with Jiraiya. Time in Suna moved far too quickly. The 3 months evaporated faster than water in the desert sun, and he was sad to see it go. Temari and Gaara were so happy to be with their family again, and it was a struggle to leave the city they loved. They realized it was necessary because of the increased border friction on the Iwa border. Skirmishes were now a weekly occurrence, and Raza wanted Gaara to become strong enough to not only protect Suna but all of Wind Country. As for Temari, Raza wanted her to continue her relationship with Naruto and grow her prowess with the wind. Raza could tell how much stronger Temari had gotten, and he was more than confident that Temari would reach S rank by the end of the training trip, so long as she committed to her training. Kankuro learned firsthand how much stronger his sister had gotten when she literally shredded his 20 practice puppets in 2 moves. The Sickle Wind Net and the Weasel Wind Blade were truly terrifying, and Temari was able to cast those 2 jutsu with her tiny sensu fans. Whenever Temari broke out the big fan, people ran for cover knowing that a sandstorm was soon to follow. The group left Suna nearly 7 months into their training trip. Their next destination was Wave Country, but Naruto had a pit stop scheduled before they made it to Wave. This was a risky move, and there was significant dissension within the family in regard to this decision. That being said, Naruto still insisted on attempting to contact Nagato. Since Am boarded Suna, Naruto wanted to take a route through the northern deserts toward the Am border, create an army of wood clones, and then send said army to get Nagato's attention. Thus, a week after leaving Suna, the Senju family was along the northern border of Wind Country and Rain Country. Naruto pulled on Kurama's chakra to supplement his own, and then he created a literal army of wood clones. The clones were to avoid engaging the Am shinobi, but Naruto knew this likely meant the clones would be constantly attacked by Am shinobi. The army of 300 wood clones was told to try talking first, and they were to avoid killing at all costs. As the clone army marched into Am, Naruto and the training group broke off and turned toward Wave. It didn't take long for the clones to encounter the first bit of resistance. As 4 Am shinobi were tied up and paralyzed, the clones continued marching forward with the tied-up ninjas carried over their shoulder. It took 4 more groups of Am shinobi being disabled and tied up before anything meaningful happened. Halt! State your business in Am and release your captives. An Am Jonin shouted. One clone stepped forward and addressed the Jonin. Hiya, I need you to go get Lord Pain and Lady Angel. Tell them that we wish to talk. You will get your captives back after that. The Am Jonin scoffed, and why should we trust you? We could return with reinforcements and destroy you. The clone picked his ear at the Jonin's shout. Look, guy, we are clones that were sent in as messengers to talk to the leaders of Am. Trust me, if we wanted to kill you, we could. Lord Pain is the only reason we are here, so why don't you just go tell him that Naruto Uzumaki wants to talk to him? The Jonin discussed it with his team, and 2 of the ninjas broke off and darted toward Am. The clones sat down knowing that it would be at least a day for Nagato to get there. The 2 remaining Am shinobi maintained a watch position over the group of clones, who all seemed to be sitting down and meditating. The swell of natural energy put on quite the show for the growing crowd of Am ninjas that were now surrounding the clone army. The clones made no move to address their new adversaries, they simply sat and meditated inside a newly grown grove of trees. It took Pain and Lady Angel 28 hours to respond to Naruto's clones, and they approached warily on a paper bird. The orange-haired man with black piercings, Rinnegan eyes and an Akatsuki cloak dropped down from the bird and walked toward the Naruto clones. Kyubi Jinchuriki, state your reason for entering my country. Pain said monotonously. Cousin, why don't we have this conversation in private? Please invite Lady Angel in to join the conversation. I am aware that you could destroy us all easily, so please afford a distant cousin this courtesy. The clone representative said as he grew a wooden house. Pain's eyebrows shot into his brow before they wrinkled in confusion. This boy knew too much, and he didn't need his followers knowing his true identity. Pain looked up into the sky to see Lady Angel flying over the clones with her paper wings. She gave him a brief nod before she descended and accompanied Pain into the wooden house. The clone representative walked calmly into the house and joined Pain. As the clone entered, it created a round table and 3 chairs in the empty house. It sat down first and was followed shortly thereafter by Pain and Lady Angel. An awkward silence settled on the room before the clone flipped through hand signs and applied a privacy barrier over the house. Conan fidgeted when she saw the clone weaving hand signs, but she relaxed when she saw it was just for a privacy barrier. Now, Kyuubi Jinchuriki, tell me why you have summoned me. Pain said firmly in his usual monotone. The clone shrugged nonchalantly. There was something comical about a clone being in a life or death situation. They simply didn't care. Well, Nagato Uzumaki, I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I would appreciate it if you called me by my name rather than my status as a container of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Conan took an aggressive stance, and a furious look encompassed her visage when the clone simply smirked at her. How do you know his Idini? Oh, please, Lady Angel, or Conan of Omegacore, relax. We are adults here having a civil conversation and the fake Madara can't listen in through this barrier. The clone couldn't suppress its laugh at the stunned looks on the face of Nagato and Conan. Eventually, Pain recomposed himself and spoke in a firm tone. You seem to know much more than you were supposed to. The clone shrugged before responding, Meh, well I guess you could say this isn't my first rodeo. Unfortunately, I am forbidden from telling you how I acquired my information. Some lady really likes her entertainment. Silence and confused looks now adorned both Akatsuki members' faces, so the clone continued. Look, cousin, I know your story and I know why you are doing what you are doing. Believe it or not, you and I shared the same master at one point. What I wanted to ask you is this, why are you following the instructions of Obito Uchiha? Silence. Pure, all-encompassing silence as Conan's breathing halted and she remained sitting in a motionless state. The Pain body was likewise stuck trying to process the information. The clone simply waited for their reply with his eyes closed. Naruto, why are you sharing this information with me? Pain asked cautiously. The clone's eyes opened and twinkled with mirth. Well, cousin, I wish I could share it with you, but we all know this isn't your real body. The clone paused here and took great enjoyment on the gobsmacked looks of his adversaries. As to why I am sharing it with you, I would say it is because you and I share a common dream. However, your methods will lead to the end of the world and mine are far from perfect. What do you know of my dream? Pain answered, refusing to play the clone's game. I know you fight for world peace. I know your organization started so that no more children in Am would be subjected to your childhood. You wish to stop the pointless wars and use the Biju to create an ultimate weapon to basically hold the world hostage. How? Was Conan's stunned addition to the conversation. The clone shrugged, I already told you that I am not going to share how I attained my information. I need only look at your reactions to know that I am right. As for this body, Yahiko, if my memory serves me, he was your friend. You lost your way when he died, didn't you, cousin? Nagato was getting accustomed to being stunned. He was able to shake it off much quicker this time, but it was still quite unsettling that one of his targets knew so much about him. You know too much, Naruto. Yes, this is Yahiko, one of my paths. Yes, my goals changed when my best friend died. What do you wish to obtain through this conversation? Boss wants you to pull your head out of your ass. The cycle of hatred cannot be broken by creating more pain and hatred. Pain is a part of life, but it is not the point of living. My boss wanted me to ask you this, do you know what will happen when you put all 9 Biju into the Gedo Mazo? The clone replied, enjoying the word games as it danced through the conversation. Conan and Pain were both silent again, stuck in contemplation. Finally, Pain answered, we will create a weapon stronger than any other. We will use that weapon to end all wars in order to lead the world into an era of peace. The clone made a buzzer sound. Wrong. When you put all 9 Biju into the Gedo Mazo, which is actually the Juubi's husk, then the Juubi will be reborn. Since you are not the owner of the Rinnegan, you will be unable to control the Juubi and it will rampage out of control. The clone held up its hand to stop the questions or retorts. That is if Obito doesn't betray you first. He wants to put the whole world in an infinite Tsukuyomi, an eternal illusion. The details don't matter because both courses lead to the end of the world, trust me, I know. Conan was silent and Pain's face was screwed into an apoplectic state. There were so many questions, so many fine details that Pain didn't even know that it made it almost impossible to decide which question to ask first. Naruto, how are we supposed to trust you? Why would our enemy share this information with us? It isn't making any sense. The clone sighed, look, as I said, I can't tell you how. I can tell you why though. Like you, I wish to create a peaceful world and guide it into a new era. As for trusting me, you can look into Obito Uchiha and the Zetsu creature. I am sure the Zetsu is still upset about being stabbed by Mother Nature, hee. Anyway, I am sharing this with you because you are Uzumaki. Family above all, always and forever. I am trying to wake my cousin up before he reaches the point of no return. Then why invite me? Conan asked, still struggling to process all of the information herself. Because you are important to Nagato. You two have been together since you were mere children, and you were both trained by my grandfather. The clone answered. Another bomb just dropped. The Akatsuki duo just realized this was the grandson of Jiraiya. Pain visibly shook his head in frustration. What would you have me do? I can't give up on my dream. Pain cried out in frustration through Yahiko's body. The clone held its hands up in a disarming manner. Look, I know I dropped a lot on you both. Take some time to think on it. Take a better look at what your organization is doing with power that could actually be used for the good of the world. I am not asking you to give up on your dream, cousin. I am offering you a different way. Have you not kept track of all of the changes I am making around the world? Am I not slowly making the world a better place? Would you continue stubbornly on your path rather than join me? These are not questions I want you to answer right now. Take time, think and then find a way to contact me. While you are doing that, watch me change this world. Pain and Conan nodded. Very well. I will do that. I will watch you, cousin, and when the time comes, we will see whose ideals will win out. That wasn't really the point, but I guess. Look, I am going to dispel and let boss know what we talked about. I know you have a lot to think about, so try not to end the world before I can fix it. Yar-na. The clone waved enthusiastically before phasing into the wooden floor and dispelling. Outside, the rest of the wood clones sank into the ground and left a vibrant patch of grass and a grove of sakura trees in their wake. Nagato and Conan stayed seated for a prolonged period of silence. It was truly an overwhelming conversation, and it was much too much to think about at the current time. Do you think we can trust him, Conan? Pain said in an unsure whisper. Conan sighed. I hope so, Nagato. You know I have never trusted Madara. I think we try to confirm some of this information to see if the rest of it can be trusted. Land of Waves 7 months into the training trip. Home sweet home. The Land of Waves truly felt like a home for the Senju family. Sure, it helped that they were practically worshipped as heroes and saviors. Sure, it probably helped that they had an amazing seaside villa and a bunch of businesses in the town. Sure, it helped that nobody there preached to them about the duties or obligations. Overall, it was honestly refreshing and the whole family felt a sense of peace wash over them in the wave country. The biggest thing happening at this point was that Himawari was close to her due date. Tsunade placed her due date roughly 3 weeks from their arrival and Himawari was being waited on hand and foot by the Senju family. Tsunade was ecstatic to welcome the first genuine addition to the Senju family in 14 years. The alters were excited because this was going to be their trial run for living truly independent and happy lives. Anko was now 6 months pregnant and not far behind. The only one in Konoha that knew this was Itachi, since it was agreed upon that Anko's pregnancy would be hidden from the council. Rias was energetic and dedicated to pulling her weight in the family since she wanted to start gaining a sense of independence from Naruto. Thus far, the family had operated as a very small, successful communist community, as family should be, but Rias was set on at least living in her own home and paying for that. Tsunade agreed to the alters being independent, but she demanded that they live in the villa and that they would each get their own homes in the Senju compound in Konoha. It wasn't to deny them independence, but it was primarily for security. Senju babies, especially Senju babies that contained Naruto's DNA, were going to be very high-risk babies. Nobody argued that fact and the whole family was on board. Yosuke was set as the head of security for both compounds, and he was going to be given funds in order to beef up security. He took the role super personally and seriously since his child was to be the first one. He had tried to get Tsunade drunk multiple times and pry the gender of his child out of her with no luck. To make matters worse, Tsunade gleefully ratted him out to Himawari each time he did it, which earned Yosuke a brief stay in an icicle each time. Overall, Yosuke had set into a comfortable role in the family, and he was content to keep playing the part. Another thing about being in Wave was Shizune being in a state of total bliss and contentment. She was engaged to York and their wedding was planned 1 month from now. They had sent invites to their friends in Konoha and Suna, and they were going to host it at the seaside Senju Resort, one of their businesses in Wave. Tsunami managed the property for Tsunade, and she had done a lot to make it the premier hotel in Wave country. Thus, upon arriving in Wave, Shizune ordered 10 shadow clones from Naruto to help her get everything set up just the way she wanted it. Between making preparations for the baby and preparing for the wedding, the first month in Wave flew by. As the group from Konoha was arriving in Wave, Himawari was taken into a delivery room in the Senju Memorial Hospital. Tsunade's clinic had garnered enough money and doctors wanting to study under Tsunade's banner that they were able to build a hospital while the Senju family was in Konoha. Thus, the hospital staff was running around in an absolute panic while many citizens of Wave hosted a vigil outside the hospital in honor of Himawari and the Senju family. Holy snap! Can you guys believe this? Kiba exclaimed and earned a yip from Akamaru as they departed from the bridge and moved toward the bustling city. Damn straight, pup. This is impressive, Sume exclaimed while Hana hid behind the 3 Heimaru triplets. Chusa whistled as he walked behind his family. It's like Suna. This is a whole new country after the Senju family settled in. It's too troublesome to think about. Last time I was in Think Country it was just a small, third world village. Not this, Shikaku added, truly lamenting the fact that the civilians of Konoha were so dead set on driving the Senjus out of Konoha. Dear, how is this possible? It can't all be the Senjus, Yoshino asked as she hiked her purse up further on her shoulder. Mom, Naruto can make an army without sweating and each of his clones has his knowledge of seals. It is a bother to say this, but you can see most of the houses are clearly made from his Mokuton and the bigger buildings are made with steel and concrete. Not to mention we went through 5 different barriers on that bridge. It's bothersome, but it is pretty clear that this is the work of Naruto. Shikamaru said dully. Yup, that's my Ruto. Ino exclaimed and her father growled, which made Ino shuffle behind Lina. Anoiki's face turned dark at the mention of Naruto's name. He was going to wring that brat's neck when he saw him. He started muttering and growling, which earned curious looks from everyone in the group. Muzino, why is your father being so unyouthful? Lee asked awkwardly, making the whole group groan at his obvious lack of social awareness. Guy, seeing the error his student made, pulled on his mask of youthfulness and amped it up to 11. Yosh. Lee, if I cannot make Anoiki laugh in the next hour, then I will swim 10 laps around Wave Country. Lee's eyes bulged and turned into giant bug eyes before he pumped a fist in the air. Yosh. Guy-sensei, if I cannot help you complete your task, then I will join you for your most youthful swim. If I cannot complete the swim, then I will run to Konoha and back 5 times. The whole group watched the display with a mix of horror and amusement. It all ended when Lina saw the sunset of youth, which actually blended in with the background of Wave Country, and she begged Anoiki to make it stop. The hilarious display from his wife and the pleading looks from the members of the Konoha group made Anoiki chuckle. This in turn earned dual fists in the air from Guy and Lee. Wonder what's going on over there, Neji said as he pointed to about 200 people sitting on lawn chairs and beach towels on the beach in front of a 5-story building with a big red cross on it. Oh, that's Mama's hospital, Ino squealed in delight while jumping up and down. Let's go check it out. The group followed Ino over to the hospital while listening to the excited chatter. Terms like Lady of Wave, Snow Princess, and Senju Prince were being whispered excitedly in between groups of people holding candles. The group began talking amongst themselves with a growing feeling that they were missing something big. It was Anoiki that went to talk to a friendly family waiting on the beach and he came back slightly pale. The kids were excited, but the adults were dreading the information they were stumbling on and the implications for Konoha. Well, the council isn't going to like this, was the first thing Anoiki said to the group. The Senju family is having a baby with a local from Wave. Daddy. I told you about Himawari already, Ino said blankly. That's not the point, Ino. Shikaku said sullenly. This is going to be so Kami damn troublesome. Speaking of troublesome, some of the hospital staff were temporarily regretting the decision to move to Wave and work at a hospital that Tsunade was in charge of. The overprotective great-grandmother, Al. Tsunade, stop. You can't reach out of the laptop and smack the author. Al. Stop. Okay fine, just please stop. The overprotective mama was running the staff ragged. According to her, the standards had fallen, and they weren't living up to her expectations. In reality, Tsunade was just heckling them like a mother hen because Himawari and Yosuke had kicked her out of the room. This left Naruto playing pacifier for his sister-in-law, Yosuke and Tsunade. He wasn't a stranger to the role, but it did get exhausting. Luckily, it served as a distraction from Naruto's thoughts. It was always and will always be weird to think that the term uncle and father would be interchangeable in his crazy family. Launching himself into the distraction, Naruto jumped in front of a bag of saline that was tossed at a doctor that questioned Tsunade. The bag splattered in slow motion and Naruto watched each drop of salinized water splashed all over the waiting area of the hospital. Yosuke watched on in horrified amusement as the bag impacted Naruto's head. He watched the ripples spread through his cheeks, the slow and forced turn of his head, the splaying of his arms to regain balance and the blonde locks that swayed dangerously to one side of his head due to the momentum. Yosuke cringed as the saline bag transferred enough momentum for Naruto to tumble into the wall. His cringe turned to a wry smile as the doctor ran for his life pleading for mercy. Then Yosuke's head snapped toward the door as Shizune stepped out of the room and beckoned him into the room. The antics between Tsunade and Naruto instantly halted as the two comically froze in place. They remained frozen for minutes until Yosuke came out with a massive smile on his usually stoic face. He called for Naruto and Tsunade before he held up a stop hand as the rest of the alters tried rushing into the room as well. Naruto smirked at Hikari, Rias, Yami, Kokuo and Kurama before he turned and walked into the room to meet his nephew. Son, whatever, he's not going to think about his nephew like that anymore. Tsunade froze in a gasp as a beautiful baby girl swathed in pink rested peacefully on Himawari's chest. Naruto peeked over her shoulder and smiled contentedly as he looked at the small bundle on the beautiful Ice Kunoiki's bare chest. He darted over to Yosuke and slapped a brotherly arm on his shoulder. He leaned into his ear and whispered something into his ear, ignoring the tears that were beginning to fall freely. I am so happy for you, Suke. I will always be here for your family. Yosuke turned into the arm, tears falling freely from his warrior eyes. Tsunade smiled at the visage of an early 20s, slightly more serious, version of Hashirama. She watched the touching and unique scene with a peaceful smile on her face before she patted the two of them on the back and went to pick up the chart for the mother and baby. She talked to Shizune about the health of the mother-baby duo while the bros had a bromance. After Tsunade held the baby girl for a moment, she asked, so, what is this blue-eyed black-haired beauty's name? Himawari smiled tiredly, Suya Yukihana Senju, in honor of your mother. Tsunade clasped both of her hands over her mouth as tears began to fall in trickles from her eyes. Naruto and Yosuke placed supportive hands on her shoulders as she continued to hold the baby girl named after her mother, daughter of Hashirama. Tsunade looked up to the sky and thanked Kami for such a great blessing in her life. Up in Kami's realm, Kushina was running around screaming her head off in joy while crying happily. Minato watched on amused and swore that he saw a single, happy tear fall from Kami's eye. He took another look at the monitor and smiled as he saw his first successor of sorts, before he turned and prostrated himself to Kami. Thank you for bestowing such a wondrous blessing on my family, Lady Kami. Kami scoffed, oh Minato, don't ruin the moment by being all serious. Just watch your son and his family. Kami squealed as she watched Naruto hold his nephew. She never could have guessed that her little experiment would provide her with so much high-quality entertainment. Seriously, Korean dramas had nothing on this show. You almost done, Kushi. The redhead stopped running for a moment before she dashed toward Kami and wrapped her in a hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was so worth it. Kami chuckled, yes, it has been a good start to a new cycle. Back at the hospital, the civilians and shinobi of Wave let out a mighty cheer when Yosuke, flanked by Naruto and Tsunade, held his baby girl up for the people of Wave to see. The group from Konoha cheered with those from Wave as they saw Naruto smiling next to Yosuke. Naruto had a gigawatt smile on his face with his eyes closed as he offered up a thank you to Kami. Back in Konoha, Jiraiya just hopped into the window of the Hokage office. Itachi was talking with his Anbu commander, Shisui, and his mother. Jiraiya joined the conversation with a goofy grin on his face. Hey there, Lord Hokage, are you guys going to wave tomorrow? He asked cheerily. Itachi edged an eyebrow before replying, Jiraiya, I want to go but the job won't let me. I am sending Shisui and my mother in my place. What has you in such a good mood? Jiraiya waved to Shisui and Mikoto before turning back to Itachi. Oh, well, I am finally not on the Senju shit list. It only took 7 months, but worth it. Itachi sighed. Okay, well, how is the training going? Jiraiya belted out a laugh. Are you telling me you couldn't hear the desert battles from here? I know our intelligence is good enough that you have gotten reports. Mikoto looked confused and spoke up. Desert battles between who? Tsunade and Naruto. Itachi deadpanned. Mikoto adopted a look of understanding now. Oh, okay, wow. That's impressive. Jiraiya waved a, no, finger at her. No, Mikoto, you don't understand. They have reshaped square miles of desert in their battles. Tsunade with her sage mode can go blow for blow with the kid. Naruto beats me at this point, so does Haim. To put it in perspective, when Tsunade managed to land a punch on Naruto, he got flung over 2 miles and landed in a crater that was 20 feet deep and 50 feet wide. Then the kid hopped back up and flashed back to her and sent her flying over a mile. Then, Earth and Wood dragons fought like some medieval adventure novel. They actually started selling tickets and had crowds of spectators. The whole room was stunned into silence, mouths agape as Jiraiya relayed tales of the spars. Finally, Itachi recomposed himself. Cough. Okay, what about the others? Jiraiya smirked. Going to be S rank soon. Gaara is above S rank in the desert, but he should be able to handle himself well enough on any terrain that isn't water. Temari is approaching Naruto in her wind ninjutsu proficiency, even though her reserves won't let her throw him out left and right. Anko is preggers and no longer training. Shizune reminds me of Tsunade, except change out the super strength for poison. Shisui stepped in here. Are you saying that whole group could fight Itachi and I on equal footing? Jiraiya brought a hand to his chin in a thinking pose. What are your seals set at, Shisui? 50, 200, level 5. Shisui answered. Okay, well then you are on the lower end of our group. Don't get me wrong, your use of Shunshin or the Mangekyo would take Temari and Shizune down a peg. They are both support-style fighters. Temari is at 75, 300, level 6 Shisui. Jiraiya finished with a taunting smirk at Shisui. Itachi coughed, embarrassed that his seals were lower than his student's fiancé, 75 pounds per limb and 300 pounds on the chest. And an level 6 resistance. Jiraiya nodded with a shite-eating grin on his face. Itachi Uchiha, you will watch your mouth. Mikoto chided sternly. Yes mother, sorry mother, Itachi said with a bowed head. Well, I am off to grab sensei. Jiraiya said, about to climb out of the window. Are you sure that is a good idea, Jiraiya? Itachi asked cautiously and explained further at Jiraiya's curious look. From what I have heard, the land of waves is like the Senju's home. Are you sure he won't cause another incident? Jiraiya sighed. If he ever wants to make amends then he will let it go. I will let you know this, Itachi. Kinji is dead set on Naruto re-establishing a zoo and merging the islands. He wants the boy to claim Wave, and I am 100% sure that they will readily agree. Jiraiya raised a hand to stop a retort. Look, he will stay here for a while. He will be an ally. But, Jiraiya smashed his fist into the window frame, if the damned council continues to attempt to control him, then they will make an enemy out of the Senju family. Get them under control, Itachi. With that, Jiraiya leaped out the window. 1 week later, Land of Waves. Ino sighed as she woke up on the morning of the wedding to see her dad standing over the bed that held her, Naruto and Temari. The scowl on his face earned him a harsh, "Daddy." Before he left the room. Ino put a hand on her belly before she sighed. She thought back to 6 days ago as she laid her head back on Naruto's chest, attempting to get a couple minutes of snooze time. Flashback 7 days ago after Suya's birth. Naruto returned to the compound with the Senju family, minus Yosuke and Himawari. As he entered the gate to the villa, he got hit with a seriously ominous wave of killing intent. He looked around and locked eyes with Inoki Yamanaka, who was already flying through hand signs and running at him. He flipped back out of the compound and away from his family. Inoki chased him through the gate as the Senjus watched on confused. Damn you Senju. I will kill you for corrupting my baby girl. Inoki yelled as he charged. Daddy stop. Ino yelled on the verge of tears. Tsunade stopped her with a firm grip on her shoulder. Kiddo, what's going on? Ino's eyes darted to the ground, and she shifted nervously on the balls of her feet. Tsunade grabbed her chin and dragged her face up to lock eyes. Ino sighed before speaking. I am pregnant. Tsunade dropped Ino's chin, and her world went blank. Rias and Hikari ran up and hugged Ino before dragging her away from Tsunade. They didn't want her to be around when Tsunade came back to her senses. After a couple minutes, Tsunade ran out the gate to join the fray. Ino was dragged into the living room where she began explaining things to the family. Everyone didn't really know what to say, but they knew that they would be there for the girl. Really, they all just felt sorry for Naruto. Kurama actually dispelled himself to go offer support to his partner and aid in what he knew would be an extensive healing process. An hour later, Tsunade carried a bruised, beaten and unconscious Naruto into the compound and took him straight to his room. Inoki followed in, looking like he dropped £1 million from his shoulder, and he was smiling until a resounding smack echoed through the room. Ino looked into her father's eyes, her baby blues were iced over, and rage mixed with tears as her eyes tore into her father's soul. Leave. Her voice came out at just over a whisper, but the amount of menace was overwhelming. Ino. Leave. Ino shouted this time and pointed toward the door. Ino, you dad? Lina tried to comfort Ino. I said leave. Ino yelled, her voice cracking as she broke into tears and was caught in Temari's arms. I think you should go. Temari said coldly as Gaara stood up and backed his sister up. Inoki's face cracked before he turned around and slumped out of the villa. Lina cast a longing look back at Ino before she turned to go and support her husband. An awkward silence hung over the living room before Ino charged up the steps and another slap sounded through the house. A minute later, Tsunade came down with a handprint on her face and she went to the kitchen to grab a bottle of sake before she returned to the living room. Yeah, I may have deserved that, Tsunade sighed out as she popped the top of the bottle. End of flashback. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.